I'm back. So, if you missed the last episode, I've just spent the last 2 weeks in Australia. Spoiler alert, hubby did not make it. Had the time of my life. I absolutely did. It came at a cost, and we're going to talk all about that. But I just want to let you know I'm back. And if you heard the last episode and my oracle card reading being about the Australian Aboriginal culture, my goodness, out of the blue, my friend Mandy just gave me an Aboriginal ancestral wisdom deck of oracle cards by Mel Brown. And I'm just telling you, so many synchronicities. Anywho, hope to see you on the inside. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Intuitive Marriage Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Pott. I'm an intuitive marriage mentor, and I guide couples to be more self-aware by cultivating self-love and teaching them to use their intuition to create a deeper, more soulful connection with each other. In today's episode, we're diving into 3 key pillars of marriage: communication, empathy, and understanding, and how they can help us navigate those moments when things don't go exactly as planned. And I'm going to share a personal story with you today about my recent trip I took to Australia. And as I said in the intro, my husband did not end up coming out, unfortunately, and it was not an easy moment. It was not an easy moment, but I wanted to discuss how we handled that as a couple and maybe turn it into a teaching moment. So here we go. As some of you know, we had a planned trip to Sydney, Australia from September 6th to September 20th. Not sure if I really got into any of the details, but that was the plan. It's to visit my best friend of 27 years, Mandy. We both have the same name, Amanda Jane. We met in 1997, and we haven't seen each other in 9 years. Mandy has come out to Canada like 3 times over our friendship, and it was just my time to go. This has been on my bucket list for years, and it sort of was started on a whim, kind of a joke. She ended up getting some extra Iron Maiden tickets, and she knows we love Iron Maiden. And they were for September, and we found out, I guess, like late last year. So we had a lot of time to think about it, but we honestly didn't really see ourselves going until like later on in the summer, like July, we kind of made a decision. So yeah, we need to plan better next time. This was a learning lesson for us. But after all of this, I fortunately was able to jump through a few fiery hoops, and I got my passport. And unfortunately, the last hoop my husband took, the processing just wasn't done in time. And actually, now that I'm back, he's actually still waiting. So anywho, like I said, lesson learned. We need to plan better next time. And that's something that we will. We're going to go back sooner than later. So now what? What did we do? We continued on as if he was going to join me. And as a few days late is better than not at all. So we thought, if he could still make it out by the concert, which was Thursday night, if he could still make it out even by the Friday and have a full week, then that would be, that would work. But after a few days and a couple of teary-eyed FaceTime calls, my husband said, babe, it's okay. I love you, sweetheart, and I want you to make the most of this trip. This was for you. It was always for you. And I had just already had a feeling that I already knew this moment was going to happen. But I kind of had to understand that he was now not going to be joining me. So it was tough. I kind of felt a sense of calm as he felt like he was truly going to be okay with it. And he had a plan for himself, and he was going to say, yes to a golf tournament that he had been invited to on Saturday with his sons. And he was already making plans to get some renos done. So I struggled for the next day with feeling guilty about, you know, feeling and being excited to share my experiences with him, and what was too much for him. How much do I share? Would it seem like I was gloating? Do I share, or do I wait for him to ask me about it? Like, here we go again. So even though I had kind of understood and got okay with him not coming out, then all of a sudden my thoughts are now great. They're just crazy, going from one thing to another. The guilt, I'm being grateful and feeling excited, to feeling sadness and guilt and shame and, disappointment, right? So, I had to face this disappointment of our plans falling apart and what I was truly feeling. And, this part of working on myself, well, like letting myself feel the feels. I hate it, just like all of you. It's not fun. I'm not going to lie. Feelings can be ugly and they can be very, very uncomfortable. And it's not always a fun place to sit in, but I also know that over years of doing this, that's when the growth happens. And you just need to sit in it sometimes. Now, of course, I felt very disappointed and I felt a bit lonely. I know that sounds crazy because I'm there with my best friend of 27 years. But we were supposed to experience this together. We were going to see some big firsts together, go to the other side of the world together, visit my friend Mandy together. But as we had prepared ourselves for the chance that I would be doing the entire trip without him, I realized that these are the kind of moments that can either strain a marriage or it can make it stronger. So I kind of went into, coaching myself again or mentoring myself again. And, it always comes back down to the power of communication. And the first thing that we did was have a very open and honest conversation. A few. We talked about the disappointment of our feelings and even the frustration. I expressed my fear of him possibly having resentment over my experience without him and how I hoped it wouldn't change things for us as a couple. And he expressed his fear of my disappointment as he felt he had let me down. And we made some space to talk about the practical side of things too. What does this trip look like for myself and what I've already experienced on my own and my fears and the fears I had to overcome on my own, the positives of both our situations, and how, as unfortunate it is, sometimes things just turn out the way they do for a reason, to teach us things about ourselves. We also discussed that we chose to make this situation, to help it with our connection. Let me rephrase that. Sorry, I lost in my thoughts. So we decided that we chose to make this situation, help make our marriage get stronger. And we feel our marriage is very strong, but it just helped with our connection. And we discussed how can we stay connected with each other with our small window of time that we have to communicate with each other based on the time frame difference, right? Basically when I'm getting up, he's going to bed and vice versa. And there's just very, very limited time, 15-hour time difference, something like that. So it's not such a terrible thing I mean, we did discuss this too. It's not such a terrible thing to have a few days apart. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think I could feel any more fonder for my husband. But boy, did I miss him. I craved him. I missed him. And I think it was good. It was good to realize how much I do truly miss him when he's not around. We both listened with love. And instead of focusing on the disappointment of the situation, we both took a step back and listened to each other. My husband shared his concerns and I shared mine. And when you create a loving, safe space where both of you feel heard, it makes all the difference. When you find yourself in these conversations, check in with what your partner truly needs. Ask those difficult questions. I needed reassurance that my husband wouldn't feel resentful, and he needed reassurance that I wouldn't hold it against him for it not working out for him. We both accepted that life throws you curveballs, so make the best of it and don't let it be a negative thing. That was not easy, guys. It was not easy. But, it's so very important that, I want to talk about empathy and, flexibility in marriage. Empathy. Let's go over that one more time. Just for you, in case you're just needing a little reminder as to what empathy is. It's the ability to emotionally understand what other people feel and see things from their point of view and imagine yourself in their place, which is not easy. It can be very challenging. And instead of focusing on our own frustrations, we tried to put ourselves in each other's shoes. I knew how badly he wanted to be there with me. And he knew how difficult it was for me to come to terms that he was not joining me. I had to travel home alone, and the guilt I was feeling for experiencing this without him, and for also feeling beyond grateful for having this opportunity with my friend that I haven't seen in 9 years. Having empathy helped us show up for each other in a way that allowed both of us to feel understood. And marriage isn't about everything going perfectly well. We know this, right? Especially not all the time. I mean, it definitely has its moments of things that are just absolutely perfect. But life, like I said, throws us curveballs. And it's about how we handle things when they don't go as planned. When you approach these moments with empathy and a flexible mindset, I hate that word, but it works. Just be open to having things not always go the way you planned. It takes away the pressure and allows for growth. Understanding and finding connection in difficult moments. So, how do you navigate those unforeseen circumstances? One of the biggest lessons from this experience was that sometimes things are just simply out of our control. And instead of resisting what it is, we embraced the moment and found ways to share, feel loved, and stay connected while being apart. We set aside time for video calls, photos. I'd send him photos. He'd have his notifications on silent, so I wasn't bothering him, but at least he'd wake up to messages from me and updates from my trip. And he would share with me the progress he was making at home with some renovations and what was happening at home. That we had some crazy rain. It was nuts. Our ditches were filled to the top. The rain was just crazy. My son was having issues. He had water in his basement, and So my husband was here taking care of things. And strangely, it comforted me because my children had someone to go to, and their stepdad was there for them. Now, we didn't let the physical distance make us emotionally distant, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I also learned to reframe this trip. So, not as something that we missed out on together, but as something we can both share in our own way. And now I can show him around when we go together next time. And we did strategically leave, myself and Mandy, we left a few experiences out so that I can share them for the first time with my husband when we do go back. But in case you were curious, I did survive 2 plane rides and 14 and a half hours on one plane. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get through that. Traveling that far alone terrified me. I hadn't been on a plane in about 30 years, and I suffer from feeling claustrophobic and confined, and the idea of being up in this fuselage, like across the ocean, away up in the sky, freaked me out. But I was able to meditate, and I got through it, and it was actually very enjoyable. And I'm proud of myself, very proud of myself. I got to spend a lot of quality time with one of my very best friends and have conversations that we probably wouldn't have had a chance to have, you know, with my husband being there. And I don't mean that by anything secretive. It's just it wouldn't have gotten as private and as deep, I think. And we just had conversations we honestly have not had a chance to have in 27 years. When we've met before, we've either been with spouses, with our children, and they were little, 5 minutes in a Tim Hortons having hot chocolate or sliding down the hill. So we never really had that time to connect. So I'm absolutely blessed for that. I saw koala bears and cuddled with a kangaroo. I sang karaoke in a packed pub in Sydney, and it was just such an incredible experience. I had drinks at the Opera House bar. We walked under the harbor bridge. We walked across the harbor bridge, walked along 3 beaches. I didn't think I was a beach person, and I have fell in love with the beaches. The sound of the ocean crashing up against the beaches is just something else. And the sand, nothing like you see here. I found shells. I took a ferry. I saw dolphins in the distance. Took 3 different types of trains. We had matching sunflower tattoos done by an incredible Aussie artist. We had it also written in there the Amanda Janes and then 97, because we were both Amanda Jane and we met in 97. So, a big disappointment. Discovered that their toilets do not flush opposite to ours. Like, what the hell? They just go down. There's no swirling. What the fuck? Like, the biggest disappointment. I, just couldn't believe it. I thought that was the funniest thing. Could not get over that. I smoked some Australian green. Shh, don't tell anybody. And I feel refreshed. I feel empowered, and I'm excited to continue to be grateful for every day that I am given to live this life and love on my husband. And I said earlier too, I received these beautiful illustrated Australian Indigenous oracle cards. And I was just telling Mandy about my reading before I came out, and how it said, mention Australian Aboriginal culture. And she's like, oh, well, then these are meant for you. And she just came out of the blue and just gave me these cards. Can't remember the backstory, how she received them. And just so many synchronicities, so many things happened because they were meant to happen. I truly believe that. I know we'll never not believe that. So, what can we take away from this episode? Like, how can this be a teaching moment, right? Basically, when navigating unforeseen circumstances in your marriage, we need to be ready to pull 3 key fundamentals out of our pockets to help us get through them. And the first one to me is communication. Always prioritize having open conversations when plans fall apart. Don't just sweep it under the rug. Have those conversations. 2, empathy. Practice empathy to truly understand your partner's perspective, even when things don't go the way you envisioned. Put yourself in their shoes. 3, understanding. Be willing to adapt and find new ways to connect, showing understanding and compassion for each other's circumstances. And just know that you're learning as a couple when challenging circumstances arise. You're a team, right? You grow through these challenges. Every time something doesn't go according to plan, it's an opportunity to strengthen your bond. If you can communicate with love, show empathy, and remain understanding, then those moments can make your marriage even more resilient. So let's just kind of recap today. We explored how communication, empathy, and understanding can help us navigate the unexpected in marriage. My trip to Australia may not have gone as planned, but it became an experience that strengthened our relationship in ways we hadn't anticipated. Plus, we had some really great sex when I got home. I know, so naughty. Anyways, come on now. Let's be real, right? It's all about being real. Hey, I was gone for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Anyways, let me put my marriage mentor hat back on here. And oh my God, speaking of hats, coolest knitted purple witch's hat I found. It looks like the sorting hat from Harry Potter. And my girlfriend Mandy gave me this gorgeous Australian designed hat. It didn't fit her, but it was perfect for my fat melon. So I am just grateful. And whoa, ADHD moment there. Had to mention the hats. Anyways, where was I? Okay, yes, marriage mentoring here. Let's get back on track. So take some time this week to think about how you and your partner handle the unexpected. Is there a conversation you need to have? Or maybe you can practice listening with more empathy. I promise you, these moments can bring you closer. So my beautiful souls, thank you for sticking with me through this episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please share it with one human who might benefit from my ramblings. And please reach out on socials or email me with feedback. I can be reached at the Intuitive Marriage Podcast at gmail.com. My socials are Amanda Pott on Facebook, the Intuitive Marriage Podcast on Instagram, and I also just have my Facebook linked to Instagram at amandajane.pot. I'm not super active on my socials. I say that every time. I shouldn't be saying that because I'm manifesting that, but things are going to change. I'm back now. I'm ready to get to work. I've got something in the works that's going to be really exciting coming up. And until next time, keep listening with love and compassion, and go have some great sex. Bye for now.